Hello, and welcome back to Setting Our Own Table. We've been away for a little while. We were on the move like everybody else, and then Omicron said, psych, not today. So we had to take a little break, like the rest of the world. But like the rest of the world, I am so happy that we are on the other side of it. And so we were talking about, how do we get back into it? How do we welcome the world back into the conversation? And I wanted to have a guest that represented living, because I think that's what we are getting back to, right? Is living our lives in this new reality, right? And I couldn't think of anybody better than our guest that we have today. They are a producer, a director, a playwright, an actress. And did I leave anything out? Listen, everybody, welcome the ultimate goddess of artistry today, Miss J. Nicole Brooks.
Hey.
Welcome, Mama.
I'm twerking in my heart right now.
Listen, we were together, right before the whole COVID thing happened, right? We were working at Looking Glass, doing your piece, your Honor Mayor Byrne. We were on our way. We was getting it, right? And then the world stopped, but you didn't. And so one of the things that I admire about you, and I want you to know that I tell all my guests that I have on, because I think with what we've just gone through, it's important that we let each other know how much we love each other in time and how much we respect each other in time. And so I admire you to the moon and back in 7 languages. And to me, you are the queen of a new term that I stole from my producer, which is you are the queen of TV. That's theater TV. Yes, we're gonna coin that one, right? And so I want to know, what are the differences, between the two, the dynamic of, theater, but then, and then also TV.
Well, first, if I may reply to such a beautiful introduction, and just to say, I'm really, really, really happy to be here with you in this moment.
Thank you.
You are someone that I've known for a long time, and this is just a joyful, joyful moment. We are all still here. None of us stopped. I just want to say that. There is no, if you breathe and just do the best you can, that means you're not stopping. And even if you're not doing the best you can, work at breathing.
Work at breathing. We were just talking about that, yeah. Breathing.
And I really do mean that because we do hear, we're on the other side of things, and this is this, and it just is what it is. And it shifts at any given moment. But what I love about it is being able to reach out in every moment that I need to someone like you.
Oh, my.
Someone whom I love and respect. And yeah, before the stanky moment, when COVID came and did what she did and does what she does, and we continue to endure, I did have the great fortune of creating with you. And then this thing happened. But look at what it has created out of that.
Yeah.
And that story is something that has happened for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Throughout this all. So I don't ever like to take anything for granted. I am very fortunate in this lifetime to be a creator. Yes, I work in theater as an actor. I work in television as an actor as well. But it's been for a long time. that, I've been on that hustle and grind and like, no. Of course, it's like, is this a household name? Do they have this? Can I Google this person and find this, that, and the third? That is not what it is about. And it took me a very long time to get to that point to go, hey, you ain't running no race with nobody, G. Just try to be you. And hopefully your work will shine from that and you'll link up with other people.
I think that's universal in both mediums as well, too, because
Yeah.
I was in Hollywood for a minute. I was in Hollywood. I graduated from UCLA, and so I did the Hollywood shuffle for a minute. And every time I would come home, that was the thing that I think was slipping away a little bit more and a little bit more. Was that I realized that I was losing me. Right? I was so busy trying to be what everybody wanted me to be, how they wanted me to be,
Yes.
and I was losing myself. And so I came back home because in theater, I felt like I could do that. Like I had more room to do it in theater, than I did in TV and in the whole Hollywood world. So in terms of, theater and TV, because right now I feel like they're kind of doing this. Like it's a marriage almost that's happening. And it has pros and cons to it. How do you feel about that?
When I started my professional career as an artist, I started in Chicago theater. I had a background in training in theater and in dance, and so I was very proud when I entered the Chicago theater community because it happens to be one of the most fantastic communities on the planet.
Amen.
There's nothing local about it. And I can honestly say that as an artist who has had the fortune of creating art around the world and on some other planets too, okay?
Come on.
All right? So I done been a few places and I can tell you that Chicago theater is a beautiful place in which I learned discipline, in which I learned drive, and it's where I got my tenacity. And it gave me the courage to do whatever I wanted. So to me, the transition to, hey, I want to go into TV and film. That's what I want to do. Yes, there used to be you have to move to LA and you have to live the Hollywood lifestyle and you have to do all these things. Okay, so you follow all of that, right? Cool. In 10 years being in Los Angeles, 10 years being in Hollywood, as they say, one of the greatest lessons that I learned is that Hollywood is a neighborhood. It's a neighborhood, okay? Yes, Los Angeles is the entertainment capital of the world, but everything that's gonna come from there? No. You learn what you can. Is New York the greatest place in the world for theater? Lots of notoriety, lots of brilliance. Does it all have to come from there? No. I can say that I worked and lived there.
Yeah.
So to me, what I'm trying to say and answer this question is, geographically, it does not matter where you live. It doesn't matter if you have a gorgeous workshop or if you are in a prison complex. If you want to be a creator, it don't matter where you're going to be, right?
Just get it done.
Just get it done. So the question is, what is the transition to TV and all of that? I think the transition for me is when I learned that I didn't have to emulate anybody else. Now look, here's T. Baby, I would walk into them audition rooms and I would give them the best impression of whatever I thought they wanted. And I was good at it. And they would say, oh my God, you're so talented, you're so this. We don't know what to do with you. So for a good 10 years of my life and my career, I felt like nobody really wants me and I don't know what to do. And so the shift for me came when I left Hollywood.
Exactly.
And I picked up a great amount of skills. But what I really started to click into was that you have to be you. And that's a lesson that I still am learning here and there.
You and me both. Because I think, you know, I have a lot of people that come up to me now and they're like, "You a boss. You a boss now." And I'm like, "I'm a boss. Okay. What does that mean?" And then I ask them, I'm like, "Well, what does that mean?" And then they tell me. And then honestly, I'm okay with it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am a boss. And in being a boss, what that means to me is though it's a great responsibility, right? Because you're in places that some people don't get to. You're in places that people are trying to get to. So if you had to tell somebody that was trying to be a boss today, a young female is trying to be a boss in this world today, what would you say to her?
Well, I would say to this young femme, embrace your divine, okay? Because the thing is, we in this world, I don't know how many years in, and we've been taught so many rules and so many, you gotta follow this constraint, you gotta do this, and you gotta do that. And I guess what I would say is, be you. I know that that's hard, but like, just be you. Remain committed to what you believe in. Remain disciplined, you know, and do your best not to fall into, I don't know, like, just keep going. Because a lot of what women and femmes have to endure is like a whole bunch of rules. So don't be afraid to break no rules. I would definitely say that. Don't be afraid to be a troublemaker.
Make your own rules.
I mean,
that's what I say. I say make your
Yeah.
own rules as long as it's in the parameter of the game, right? Make your own rules.
Yeah.
And I think, or shall I say, I know, because you think about the arts today, right? Because you know, when we were coming up, it was different than what it is now.
Yeah.
You know, we got TikTok now. We got, you know, all of these YouTube, right? You got all of these things now where you can be an instant, you know, overnight success, right? And so the things that we stood on, you know, you got to do this, the discipline, you got to get training and all of that. It's kind of out the, you know, a little bit out the window. And when you say that now, you know, you have to be careful because you don't want it to come off like, because you didn't do it the way I'm doing it, you know what I'm saying? That my way is better. But in terms of the black arts today, like what I'm talking about, like, do you feel like, you know, the black arts movement back in the 60s, that was a movement, right? Where entertainment took the political of what was happening and we launched it into the future. And I feel like we have that opportunity now. So how do you feel about the state of black art today? Do you feel like we're doing it, or do you feel like there's still a long way to go and still a lot of things that we need to get accomplished?
D, all of the above. We've been doing it. We're gonna keep doing it. It's happening right now. Yes, I understand if someone might be frustrated because they feel like they did the route that, you know, we were told back in the day, you have to go to a university and you have to train this way and you must learn to speak this way. And then you go into an audition and somebody get it because they made a good TikTok. Great. And you wanna know why I think that's great? I'm seeing these young black queer inventors and creators, and if TikTok and other social media mediums are the only way they can get it out. That says a lot more about the decades of blockades that black creators have had to deal with. So what these babies are doing now ain't much different than what Oscar Michelle was doing back in the day. I feel like there is room. So I don't know, I don't trip on that. I don't really, there was probably a point in my career where I was frustrated, where I was like, I trained and I did all the things. How dare you get a movie after being on reality TV? Ain't nothing you can do about that. It is what it is. If that's the route that person takes, that's the route that person takes. This is my only thing I would say. Have integrity. And bring others with you on the journey. That's it. Work as hard as you can. Because if you don't bring others with you on the journey, that's going to be a lonely island.
Well, that's the reason, honestly, Harry and I, when we started AAMPA, which is the African American Museum of the Performing Arts, right? I think it had a lot to do with the fact that I feel like a lot of the young artists don't know that history. They don't know that story. That's not what they know. They don't know about Kumba. They don't know about chocolate chips. They're taught that to strive outside of themselves to be successful, right? And so we don't have any place to archive that. And so I didn't get a chance to talk to you, when we were doing that, because everybody was living, but I really want to know, how do you feel about that there's going to be a museum?
I'm flooded with so many emotions when I think about it. Like, okay, so like in this lifetime, like you and I, right, we have seen so many institutions, from storefronts to just like people getting together inside community places and making art. It's important that we archive all of that. Not everyone will have the experience of it. And so I'm grateful that I have gotten to experience, like, look, when I came on the scene to Chicago theater, and there was like so many companies, and people had places, and like a lot of companies have not survived.
It's true.
How institutions are built is not surviving. So I think you just have to we have to be shift shapers. I think we have to move along with things, or else we're gonna get lost in the wind. And so the fact that y'all are creating this museum in which you will archive stories, in which you will cultivate stories, I think that's so important. And I think it's so beautiful. And it just makes me so happy, like violently happy. Because, man, like I think back 20, some years ago.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Man, I think back to like so many people that we love and admire. Some of them are not here, And so I don't know. I just don't like to take much for granted. I don't like to take anything for granted. And I don't take this moment watching y'all put this together. I hope that, like where we are now, we can pull up some shorties and other people with new ideas so that we can keep it going. I'm not done. I haven't made it. There is no making it. You just keep going. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I was there opening night of Your Honor Mayor Byrne.
Her Honor Jane
Byrne. I was messing it up when we was doing it. I was messing it up when we was doing it. So I was there when they made the announcement about the residency and about the grant that you had gotten, and the trilogy of the shows. And I just want you to know, like the fact that you're grounding that in Chicago politics. Talk a little bit about that, about the trilogy.
Thank you. So, all right, so let me give some context so that it all makes sense. Hopefully. So, I've always had a fascination for Chicago politics, corruption, and messy people. Those are the things I like. And those are all the things that are all about Chicago,
That's
right?
the shot.
That's the shot. Always has been.
That's the shot.
Ain't nothing new under the sun in Chicago politics. And so when I got to a place in my playwriting where I was like, just do whatever the fuck you want to. because nobody is paying attention.
Exactly.
Like, you know,
Ain't nobody looking.
no, ain't nobody looking at you. Like, you know, I didn't have pressure on me. I was like, well, what do I want to write about? And so I wrote this play called Her Honor Jane Byrne, and it was a play about a moment in time in Chicago politics. I had the great fortune of creating this production with you, and you've always been one of my muses.
Oh, thank you.
You have always been one of my muses, you know. And so I got the opportunity to put it together, and we did this great production, and we worked really hard. And as the director and the writer of that production, I wanted to stress, let's worry about the experience. Don't worry about the end result. I don't know if you recall me saying that. I'm like, I'm more interested in the journey. I'm not trying to do this so we give a perfect production. I wanted us as artists to create something together. And what it ended up being, in my opinion, was a beautiful journey that got cut short. You know, it was a play that lasted 3 days, and that's fine because we created this new story. And so from that, it gave me the whatever you want to, it jettisoned me to keep going and tell more stories about Chicago.
Yeah, that's
So
where I'm at too.
That's what it is.
That's where I'm at too, because Natalie Moore
Yes.
wrote a book called The Billboard, and Ann Filmer called me. I had just had some success with N, because that was my producer's debut, right? my producer debut, and at the Greenhouse, and she came to see it. And Dave Alex had raved about, you know, the process of working with me as a producer, but also as a director, helping with a new script. And so they had Natalie's script. So they wanted to, they sent it to me, and they said, well, TaRon, you know, Natalie wants you to work on it. So I was like, well, I got to read it first. You know, I'm real critical when it comes to the shot, because I'm from the South Side, right?
Yeah.
So I read it, and I was like, oh, she going down the rabbit hole. And actually, it really, you know, you talk about time and space and things happening at the right time. I had just come off of, you know, doing, you know, the piece with you, playing Marion Stamps, which a lot of people don't know this, but I hadn't been on stage in 6 years, y'all. I had been doing the executive thing, and it was my return to stage. And I was so scared.
It was a mighty return.
I was so scared, because I was, you know, I felt like when I came in, everybody was like, "Oh my God, I get a chance," and I was sitting there like, "Okay, y'all, I'm not the old gray man what she used to be on this memory thing," and you know, yeah, okay, and I was like, but you know, we had that moment in time, and we were like, grr, and then skirt. But then it remounted, right? It remounted, and I didn't get a chance to do it, to finish it. And I believe we had some new energies. Can you just kind of let me know for you, because you had the first cast, and then you had the second cast. What was that like? Like, what was the difference? I just want to know personally, because I was like, okay, I can tell the truth. I'm gonna tell the truth, Tim Devil. So I was upset a little bit that I wasn't in the position to return to Marion, because Marion was dear to me because of that experience that we had. So to not be her again, I was in my feelings, y'all. I was in my feelings. But then I found out who you all had cast, and then I found there was some more new people. So what was that like? What was the difference between, you know, phase 1 and then phase 2?
Well, I mean, listen, as a playwright, I have the great, beautiful fortune of creating new works, and so that often means that you're building an experience with a team of people. And so the first time that we were able to do the production, yes, you played and you were Marion Stamps, and it was such a beautiful experience.
It was a blast.
And we had a different cast. And then this, thing that none of us could control happened in the world. And when we were able to come back, you weren't available. And so let's just let everybody know that it's because your creativity was in demand.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
And where's there a tragedy in there? Nowhere. For me, as the director, I was like, oh God, I have to have TaRon. And then I said, wait a minute. TaRon is doing so much good right now. And so what I've learned from this pandemic, the panoramic, or whatever you want to call it, is that we have to be where we are. And we got an opportunity to tell this story on stage twice. And there were changes on the cast, and there were changes in the crew, there were changes in stage men. Across the board, it was we had to create a different play. But look at the joy in it. So I really try to look at things that way, and Marion Stamps, which is a character that is written in the play Her Honor Jane Byrne, and is based on and inspired by a beautiful, beautiful queen that actually lived. So for me as an artist, the most important thing is doing all that I can to uplift her name and her legacy and what I learned from it. And so you had your journey as an artist portraying Marion Stamps. And then there was another actor that did it. And for me, I'm like, look at all this beauty that exists, and that happened for other people too. So if anything, it feels doubly rich.
I love that. I love it. I have to say that that point of view is something that I'm learning to get better with. It's like the more the merrier, as long as we're doing it, let's do it. And so, I mean, you've done pretty much everything. So, more importantly, I want to know, because I'm curious and I'm nosy. You know me. I'm nosy. What are you doing now? What is it? Where are we headed? What's your next journey?
Well, what I'm doing now is learning how to take care of myself. Okay. One thing I've learned about being an artist, I've worked professionally as an artist since 1998. I started the journey before that. I've been trying to create art and just training for a long time. And yet, that's not a long time, right? What I've learned is that you have to take care of yourself. So I happen to be, yes, an actor. I happen to be a writer. I happen to be someone that creates work. I happen to be an educator. But at the intersection of all of that is learning how to breathe through the journey. I recently started acupuncture. Yes, child. I'm studying Qigong, which is a form of Tai Chi, because don't nobody care about your work if you are not doing well.
That's true.
It shows in your work. So, I mean, I'm gonna talk about some projects and stuff that I'm doing, but that's like my first response.
I think when you talk about journey, I do think, before the camera started rolling, we were talking about breathing.
Yeah.
It sounds so simple. People tell you all the time, breathe. You need to breathe. What does that mean? But I can't tell you what we're talking about is that is something I have to constantly remind myself because of the hustle and bustle of everything that we're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're holding our breath, right? And if you hold your breath too much, you start to, your system shuts down.
Yes,
everything shuts down. And so I think it's important if I'm asking you about your journey and you're starting your journey with you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That in and of itself is a lesson that I think we need to perpetuate. is that it starts with you, right? Because if
Yeah.
you're not okay, and that's every which way you're not okay. If you're not physically okay,
Yeah.
if you're not mentally okay, if
Yeah.
you're not spiritually okay,
Yeah.
right? In the world of art, it all stems from you. So you have to take care of yourself. So I'm glad that you started that with what you're doing for you.
I appreciate.
I'm
that.
serious. Because I know with me, whenever anybody ever, this is one thing that I learned really quickly. In Hollywood, when you say, how you doing? People rattle off their resume.
Yes.
Right? They rattle off their resume. And it's like,
yeah.
well, that's great. But how are you? Was what I was really asking.
You know, respectfully, I say Hollywood ain't the only place that does it.
Oh.
In so many ways, as artists, we have been sort of yanked. Okay, networking. Oh God, networking. Everybody want to go into a room and rattle off their resume and, like, man,
Can you give
do
me?
you see what
Can
we
I
just
live?
come through?
Can I live?
What you working on? Not wearing a mask in moments and smelling a flower without fear. Fear and faith, they don't like to go together, I really do mean that, because I had to embrace that in my life, especially when I started to, so when this whole thing happened, right, the world got sick, but we got to keep going. So as actors, when it comes to casting, you have to be on camera and you have to just do it at home yourself. And what I learned from that period of self-submissions and tapes and doing it is that breathe, take control of it. And that's not something I had before. You go into a room and you go to a networking event, and I just don't do it no more. So when people ask me, what are you working on? The first answer is, I'm working on myself. Because a lot of themes in my work is, sometimes I deal with some tough things. And I don't want to damage myself turning out plays or turning out scripts or, as an actor, turning up to do work. That can damage you. So I try to write every day. I'm very fortunate. I do have commissions at different companies and stuff, but I feel like I got to a point in my work where I felt like my work started to suffer. And I think my work started to suffer not because of what the outside world was saying, but because when I would sit at my computer, it looked like ants on a page. And I was like, oh my God, I can't concentrate. I'm gonna lose it. And then I'm not gonna be able to go into the room and network and all of that. And I think that artists have to find a way to do it in a way that works for them. And is that really new? No. I don't think it is.
I think for me, I had to really realize at some point, I was fighting, you know my story. And I felt like every room I went in, I was fighting. And so then I had to really look at myself and say, okay, are they the problem? Or are you the problem? Because you can't go in every room and fight, right? Yes. So who's really the problem? So then I had to check in with myself. And I had to say, it's still the same. What's changed is me.
You are enough.
What's changed is me. And so what is important to me? What is important to me about where I am right now and where I want to be? And what I realized was I was okay with being the only person in the room that was going to scream it. I was okay with it. I was okay being Darth Vader in every room. I was okay. I was coming in it up.
Honey, if not you, then
Luke.
I'm in your father.
I'm in your daddy, right? And so I started talking to Harry, good, cool brother, you know him.
Of course. Real
brother, no matter how much success he has, loves Chicago, And I started soapboxing. And he was like, okay, look, I got some things that I've been trying to do for so many years, but I don't have the time to really do it. And so when everything stood still, he was like, T, do it. Let's go. Me and you, let's do it. We're going to jump off this roof. And it's been amazing to do that. And I had to realize that my focus had changed. It wasn't just that I wanted to be in front of the camera, or I wanted to be, that wasn't enough for me anymore. It's more important to me that I make sure that the children behind us and the legacies behind us, that we start to create generational wealth in terms of art, right? It's their birthright. We're standing on some really powerful shoulders, but don't nobody know about those shoulders. So it's our responsibility, it ain't nobody else's responsibility.
I think it's a whole evolution. I don't think you ever stop doing one thing. So like, for instance, like if you were a stage actor for a period of 12 years and then you decide to, I don't think that means that you are no longer that thing. There's a spectrum in how you create art. So you just evolved you just evolve and you just spread the love joy. That's how I look at it. So Harry Lennox is someone who, when I first came on the scene and started working professionally, I'm like, well, now look at that, okay? That brother right there, you know.
Because he came in like, poof.
And what I loved about was watching his work and then having great fortune of meeting him away from, just meeting him and getting to know his person. And I'm like, my God, this man is a bard. Don't nobody know that Shakespeare more than Harry Lennox. I can tell you. And this is also someone who has studied and done so many things. And guess what? Harry is not alone in that. And so when you come to a point where you go, oh wait, we're all the same, then I think you start to drop that weight of, if I don't do this, that, and the third, I'm not gonna make it. There is no making it. I think that there is being truthful to yourself and hoping that you can find other weirdos to do it with you.
Right.
And if you embrace that, I think there's less harm. That's just what works for me. I do believe you have to always be disciplined. I think you have to really work at things. I come from a dance background, and even in my acting background, in the training, even if you're not like a trained actor or a trained writer or whatever, I think what's most important is you just have to keep going at it and always be a student. That's just me. That's how I roll. I feel like I will always be a student.
You will never. So it's funny that you said it. That it factor, right? Of what it is, and I think that to me is the biggest lie that's ever told. Is that you got to make it. It is whatever you're doing.
It's a continuation. And I feel like there's room for all sorts of stories. I think as Black creators in this industry, we often feel like everything has to be like, we got to create a story and it's got to be right for the whole community, and it's got to be. And it's like, we're not a monolith, y'all. Let's actually burn down and break down the system so that we can have a bunch of stories.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people doing it, and then we'll all be okay.
Well, I love it. Listen, you and I will sit here and talk all day. More importantly, is there anything that you want anyone looking forward to? I know I'm getting ready to direct this summer. I'm going to be directing and co-producing the Billboard. But I'm curious, because I just want to know so I can put it on my calendar. What are you doing next? Where can we see your artistry next?
Well, I will be presenting a new work that I have created for the Steppenwolf Theater Company. This is a world premiere, and the title of it is 1919. It is a play that is adapted from Listen, this play is adapted from the work of the most beautiful writer, Dr. Eve L. Ewing. Eve Ewing, okay?
I love it.
1919 is a story that is inspired by the race riots of Chicago that happened in 1919. And the Steppenwolf Theater Company will present it this fall. So I'm so happy. What makes me even happier about it is that this is created for the theater for young audiences. So I am the playwright. The material is based on what Dr. Ewing, okay, who is an amazing, Eve Ewing is everything we all want to be, a superhero, a poet, a writer, studies sociology, and has created this beautiful book. And so I'm lucky enough to be the playwright on the production, and it will be at Steppenwolf this fall. And I really hope that everyone can go. But before the production, I hope that in July 19th of this coming year, July 27th to be exact, July 27th, 1919, that's when the race riots started. So wherever you are, just take a moment and learn as much as you can, I hope, about the Chicago race riots and Eugene Williams, the first person, a young black boy who was killed in waters, and that's what started it all. So people say, what are you doing next? That's one of the things that I'm doing. I want to bring to light pain so that we can find our way to joy. So
I love it. I love it. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Setting Our Own Table again. And I just want to let you know that I love you, whoever you are and wherever you are. I'm sending you love and light. And artists from around the world, create. Let's get it.